Welcome to Enrich and Elevate with Dr. Mary Mugo. Now, picture this. Many times you wake up, you really don't want to wake up, but you wake up anyway. You go to the place of work and you are like, am I going to the office where nobody listens, where I am afraid to speak, where I'm being micromanaged, or where things are not just working? This is not just a picture. It is reality for many of you. There are many of you today who are working in an environment that is toxic. And therefore today, I want to talk about a toxic workplace and what to do about it. And on that, I have written a book entitled How to Thrive and Influence Your Workplace. You can buy a copy of that book in Amazon, or you can give me a call on 0776 045 087. So let's delve into the topic of toxicity in the workplace. And by the way, in that book of How to Thrive and Influence Your Workplace, there are various topics that you can read. The workplace politics, there's a topic on bullying, a topic on harassment, a topic on how to deal with difficult people, and a topic to deal with toxic bosses, and many other very key topics. I think you need to get a copy of that book. So what is a toxic workplace or an environment? A toxic workplace or environment is one where there is an unhealthy atmosphere for employees. It is a place where there is a lot of negative behavior, a lot of negative attitudes. And in such an environment, there is a lot of decreased morale, increased turnover, decreased productivity. So it is very important, if you are a leader of an organization, to ensure that the workplace is not toxic. Because if it is toxic, then it means your employees have low morale, your employees keep leaving, your employees don't produce what they should produce. And so I want us to look at, how do you know, or how do you tell that the workplace that you are in is actually toxic? Because sometimes you may not be able to know, but there are key things that can tell you that you're working in a toxic place. Number one is lack of communication or poor communication. Communication is everything. I keep saying that leadership rises and falls on communication. So if you're in a place where there is no communication at all, you don't know what is happening in the organization, it is like it's a favor when someone is giving you communication, or there is poor communication, of course that leads to misunderstandings. It leads to things like stress, because conflicts, people are not communicating. And talking about communicating, because as I said, a leader rises and falls on communication. I have done a book called Communicate to Convert. This is a book that will help you understand how to communicate effectively. I would want you to get a copy of that book. And that book, you can find it at marymugo.shopyangu.com, or you can buy it at Amazon. Communicate to Convert. Very nice book, Communicate to Convert. You will learn a lot of things. And by the way, if you're a leader, if you're a sales manager, if you're a marketing manager, if you're a marketing director, if you own a school, anybody, and by the marketing is for everybody. You even market yourself as a person, because you need to know how to communicate and convince the people that are interviewing you. This is the book for you. Kenya shillings, 1,000 only. We send it to you where you are. Of course, you pay the courier services. Communicate to Convert. The other way for you to know that the workplace you are working in is toxic is if there is a lot of micromanagement. Have you ever worked for a boss that actually supervises you like hell? They control you, they don't let you to work. Basically, they want to know nitty-gritties of everything. My friend, that is a toxic place to work in. Employees are frustrated. Employees have no creativity simply because they are micromanaged. So if you work in an organization where supervisors, or your managers, are micromanaging you, then probably that environment is very toxic. And talking about micromanagement, you need to buy a copy of my book, Dissecting the Heart of Leadership. In that book, you're gonna learn how to manage people well. You will learn how to even manage meetings. You will learn how to deal with different types of followers and all that. Dissecting the Heart of Leadership. Kenya shillings 1,000. merimugo.shopiyangu.com, or simply call me 0776 045 087. This is the book, Dissecting the Heart of Leadership. Toxic place to work in, my friend. People are frustrated. People are stressed. People are sick. People have mental issues because of toxicity. You have a toxic working place. You have a toxic boss. You have toxic colleagues, my friend. You're going to have problems. So it is important to know these things and how to deal with them. The other way you would be able to tell that you work in a toxic environment is where there's a lot of bullying, a lot of harassment, and a lot of discrimination, Have you ever been discriminated? I've been discriminated, by the way. I've felt discriminated many times. And as a person, I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the public institution, and I felt discriminated at one. I felt very discriminated. You don't promote people because they are your friends. You don't promote people because you like them. If you work in an environment where promotions are done because you are a friend of the boss, because you are a friend of a friend or a friend of a boss, kuna shida. So people need to feel secure in their places of work. Don't harass people. Don't bully people. Don't discriminate people. And the book on how to thrive and influence your workplace has that topic on bullying and harassment, And that book is found in Amazon. Very powerful book, this one. How to thrive and influence your workplace. I don't have any copies unless you make an order. Or simply go to Amazon and buy a copy. So if you are working in a place where there's a lot of bullying, a lot of harassment, a lot of discrimination, you all work the same thing, you do the same thing, one is paid 3 times your salary, my friend, that place is toxic. And you need to do something about it, all right? Now, if you work in a place where you feel undervalued, where you feel like people don't recognize what you do, people don't appreciate what you do, there's a likelihood you are working in a toxic environment. Have you ever worked in a place where you go out of your way to do so many things and good things, but somehow people never appreciate what you do, you feel undervalued, you don't feel like people don't care? Then that could be a toxic workplace. Another way that you are able to tell whether you're working in a toxic workplace is where there is excessive workload, unrealistic deadlines, pressure. Have you ever, and you are not even in sales, the only job that I know which I've done, which I'm even doing now, is sales. Sales is pressure, but there are some jobs where pressure is not supposed to be there. But you'll find the bosses are just pressurizing you. And that leads to stress, burnout, mental health issues. Because people are giving you more than you can do. And because some of you are never able to say no. By the way, one of the best ways to deal with toxic environment is to learn to say no as an employee. If you're not able to do something, just say no. Or if you realize people are always giving you work and they're not giving the rest, you say no. So if you're in a scenario, in an environment where people are giving you excessive workload and unrealistic deadlines, there's a possibility that that place is toxic. By the way, what do you think? Any of those things that you think is happening where you are, put a comment and let the conversation continue. And let us know whether, what you think about this. So the other key thing that shows that our workplace is toxic is lack of recognition. Lack of appreciation. Your efforts are never being recognized or appreciated. And people get demotivated when you work in a place where nobody appreciates what you do. People not just get demotivated, but they feel devalued, because you're going out of your way to do your work. The other one is high turnover. You know, if you work in an organization where people are always leaving, but then if you are a boss and you see people are always leaving your organization, you need to ask, why are people leaving? And I've said many times, people don't leave organizations, people leave their bosses. So if you see people are leaving a lot, you could be the problem, all right? The other one is lack of policies and practices that employees, you know, that have to do with employee well-being, you know. How on earth do you have an organization where people are working at wee hours of the night and you don't care how they get home? That is being toxic, right? Yeah, you need to be aware, you need to have policies, you need to have practices that are the well-being of the employee, you know. If you are, for example, you are in a scenario where your organization people work at funny hours, then you must be able to ask yourself as the owners of that business, as the CEO, how will my people get home? You know? Yeah. So there's a lot of toxicity in the workplace, you know. When you find that there's hostility, when people are colleagues are talking with one another, or colleagues are talking to the boss, it's like people are fearing to talk to the boss. There are companies like that, especially public institutions, where the colleagues are fearing to speak to their boss. So if you speak boldly, like some of us, people will think you have a problem. Because why would people fear to speak to their superior? Why would a leader or someone who is a supervisor be so far away, disconnected from the people that they are supervising? That is a sign that your organization or the environment in which the employees are working is toxic. Are we together? Can you write down those signs so that I see if we are together? And then I tell you how do you deal with that. Because it is important for you to take care of yourself. Did you know that you spend most of your life working? So you must work in a place you like working, and you must do a job you like doing. Otherwise, you're going to have mental issues and you're going to die early, which is not right. Because the Bible says, God, it is the will of God that we live long. So don't die because of work. So if you realize that you work in such an organization, I'm speaking to you as a person, as a leader, both management and employees. What should you do? What are the remedies? Number one, there must be open communication. One of the best ways to deal with toxicity in the workplace is to ensure there is transparent communication to employees. Let employees feel safe. Communicate to the people that you supervise. Don't start feeling like, there are people who don't give information because holding information is powerful. Let there be communication, and not just communication, but transparent communication. Allow people to voice their concerns without fear. Allow people to give you feedback. There are people who don't like feedback. There are bosses who hate feedback. And even worse, there are people below bosses who don't want the bosses to get feedback. That's how you deal with toxic. Open communication and transparent communication. Number two, you need to implement clear policies. You need to implement, policies and practices that are not discriminative, so that people can feel they belong. I keep saying that when you want to know that people belong, it's like a dance. When you say that you are inclusive in an organization, let me teach something here. When you say that you are inclusive, you're saying that you have invited people to dance with you. But when people belong, we say, from a strategic point of view, that actually they are not just dancing, but they are dancing without caring who is there. Now people belong. And talking about strategy, you need to buy my book, The Winning Strategy. The Winning Strategy. A very, very good book. I have just about 40 copies remaining. And this book will help you to be strategic in the way you do things. And everything is strategy in life. In life, there are two things that will always happen: strategy and marketing. Without those two things, life doesn't exist. Even God has to be strategic and create things different days. So that you don't bring one thing before the other. That's being unstrategic. Even when you sit down, it's strategy. So buy my book, The Winning Strategy, 2,000 Kenya shillings. You can buy it at shop merimugo.shopyangu.com, or simply call me 0776 045 087, or simply go to Amazon. Winning Strategy, 2,000 only, about 40 copies remaining. Take your copy now, you will never regret. These are practical books, by the way. We are saying we are enriching and elevating ourselves. So we are saying, if you want to remedy your toxic workplace, don't change policies for different people. Today you promote people using a different criteria. Tomorrow you use a different criteria. That is being toxic. So implement policies and practices that are the same for everybody. Number 3, remedy. If you work in a toxic workplace, you need to ensure that there is support for mental health. There are a lot of people today who are suffering from mental health. Do you have counseling services? Do you have stress management, trainings? And talking about trainings, I am a trainer and a consultant in matters strategy, governance, leadership, customer care, stress management. So call me and we'll talk to employees and they'll be better. You need to support people by training them on various things, by counseling them, even have mental health days and that, yeah? The fourth way that you can remedy a toxic place is to ensure there is positive culture. Culture is very important, Culture. Culture is everything. I will talk about that another day. I think I leave it there for now. So as an employee, as a leader, you need to ask yourself, what am I doing to contribute to toxicity in the workplace, or what am I doing to ensure that there is no toxicity in this place? So as an employee, voice your issues. Don't keep quiet. Keep saying things. Tell your bosses the truth. Be a psychopath. Tell your leaders when they are wrong. God is expecting you to do something about it. Nobody else. Don't say so and so is going to talk about it. Talk about it yourself. So as an employee, contribute to a better working environment by voicing issues and by doing the right thing and being the right person, doing the right thing, and above all, always ensure that you are transparent, you are authentic, and you create a positive culture where you work. Until next time, God bless you. Happy Mother's Day. God bless you.